Good morning. Good morning, Tom. Good morning. I'm Natalie Shirley, and I'm the Vice Chair of the Convention and Visitors Bureau for the Greater Oklahoma City Chamber. We are fortunate today to have Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell with us to discuss the state's hospitality industry and how he plans to approach branding the state of Oklahoma. But before we hear from him, I'd like to recognize the generous support of our signature sponsor, Cox Business. Please help me welcome Ahi Park with Cox Business.
Good afternoon and welcome. I'm excited to hear from Lieutenant Governor Pinnell about Oklahoma City's tourism and hospitality industry. We have a direct vested interest in the growth of this industry. Hospitality Network, a Cox Business affiliate, assists clients in the hospitality and large venue industry to provide guests with the latest in managed Wi-Fi, high-capacity bandwidth, and in-room entertainment, to name a few services. For more than 30 years, Hospitality Network has proven technologies that enable the ultimate experience from coast to coast. Feel free to reach out to me if you'd like more information after today's forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahi. I'm also pleased to recognize our corporate sponsor, ADG. Thank you all. Now, as the state's third largest industry, tourism is big business here in Oklahoma, generating almost $9 billion in direct travel spending, more than 100,000 jobs statewide, and $656 million in state and local tax revenue. In Oklahoma County, direct spending from the tourism industry was $2.3 billion and accounts for more than 23,000 jobs. In addition to the economic impact hospitality has on our region, tourism is also an important component of building our state's brand. We know from extensive image research that visiting Oklahoma City has a positive impact on its perception. In other words, once people come here, they like it and are more likely to return. We're fortunate to have a guest speaker who will give us fresh insight about the state's approach on tourism and branding and what changes we might see in the future. As Secretary of Tourism and Branding for the state of Oklahoma, Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell has direct oversight of how our state's tourism and recreation department will market the state of Oklahoma as a visitor destination. And he'll also play an important role in how the state develops its brand on a national and international scale. We have a great presentation to look forward to, but before we get to his comments, please enjoy your lunch, and I'll be back shortly to introduce our keynote speaker. All right, those of you who know me know that I will eat multiple desserts. So for those of you who want to watch your waist, please feel free to bring your desserts over here to the middle table because I'm accepting all donations. Today we are excited to hear from our state's 17th Lieutenant Governor. His extensive bio is in your program, so please help me welcome Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell to the stage. Thank you for being here.
Of course, thank you. Appreciate it. And I know you all are here. I don't know how intrigued you are by this speech that I'm going to get, or just to look at the building. If you did not know what went on this morning, we had quite the entertainment out the window. Thankfully, no one was hurt. Thankfully, we had, again, just great fire and police. A round of applause for everybody. We had a swinging, pull up the video though, because you won't see much anything like it. It was pretty, and we're not on the right side. I think it was over on that side, but I don't have any glass to hand out as a prize or anything, but I'm hoping to collect some of that. Well, Natalie, thank you, and I appreciate you not reading my bio and just letting me just go right into it. A lot of her comments about how important this industry is, our third largest industry in our state, I'm going to really speak to today, and I'm going to open it up for questions and take plenty of questions, because I really hope to, again, start a conversation with you today, and I need your help with a lot of what I'm about to talk to you about as well with our legislators around the state of Oklahoma. So a little bit of background on me, your 17th Lieutenant Governor. I live in the Tulsa area, grew up in Tulsa. I hope that's okay. I spend most of my time in Oklahoma City today. Put over 110,000 miles on my truck crisscrossing this state the last 2 years though. And won all 77 counties, 63% of the vote, but who's counting other than Pat McFerrin? He counts these numbers. But a lot of the reason for that was because of my message that I delivered about this industry. This was Republicans and Democrats and independents that know that the tourism industry is an industry that we should be much more involved in at a state level. It helps small towns, it helps urban areas alike, and it's a big reason that we started building momentum on the campaign trail was the vision that we had for this Lieutenant Governor's office. But grew up in Tulsa, Oral Roberts University grad. Any ORU grads in the house? Usually crickets. A proud Oral Roberts Golden Eagle. And I was a public relations advertising major. So my background is marketing. I'm a sales guy. I love that. The Lieutenant Governor job is a sales job. And so I really spoke to me because of that. And we're also small business owners. This is something that I also want to make sure that I mention, because tourism and economic development go hand in hand. We are small business owners, due in large part to my wife. If you have not heard that story, I'll be very brief on that part. But about 6 years ago, my wife came to me and said, "Hey, babe, I've got this idea for this invention." And I said, I do not question my wife. She said, "Well, we got to go get a shopping cart." And I did not question that either. You can imagine where we went and got that shopping cart. That's a whole other story. That shopping cart is no longer with us. We have purchased a new shopping cart, which, trivia, if you didn't know, shopping cart was actually invented in Oklahoma. So we have a shopping cart in our kitchen and 4 kids. That's how your Lieutenant Governor rolls. Shopping cart and 4 kids. And we tinkered around with this idea. So if you go anywhere with shopping carts today, you see a mom or a dad pushing a shopping cart with a little hammock that's clipped into that shopping cart for babies that can't sit up yet. And you say, well, that's a cute little invention, whoever came up with that. That was my wife, the Lisa Pinnell, the Binksy Baby shopping cart hammock. We were packaging these up in our kitchen 5 years ago, had no idea what we were doing. It was a Jesus take the wheel moment for us. And 6 years later, 5-6 years later, shipped all 50 states, about 40 countries this year, huge distribution center in Bixby, America. So we know the highs and lows of running a small business every day. We have 3 new baby products that we're launching at the end of the year. So another big passion of mine, and I'm happy to answer any questions on this, is we have to create and foster a much better environment for entrepreneurs in the state of Oklahoma. I'm biased, but I firmly believe that entrepreneurship is the future. If we're going to diversify our economy in Oklahoma, which we've been talking about that since statehood, we're going to continue to be an oil and gas state. And that's what helps fuel this economy. But the oil and gas industry would love to have a more diversified economy too, so that we don't continue to just go back to the oil and gas industry every time we need a check down at the state capitol. And the only way that we're going to do that, a big way we're going to do that, is fostering a much better environment for entrepreneurs and making sure that if a kid has an idea, young or old, someone in the state that has an idea for a business, that they can tap into an accelerator or an incubator in the state of Oklahoma. And yes, I'm thankful that we have the Oklahoma City Thunder Launchpad, but there's 14 Oklahoma City Thunder Launchpads in Colorado. Don't even get me started on Dallas and Houston, how many accelerators they have, with $30,000 of startup cash to help accelerate their business. And if that business is successful, what happens? They usually stay in Dallas, in Houston, in Kansas City, and Denver. And we have got to change that paradigm here in the state of Oklahoma. And I know I'm preaching to the choir to this organization and this group, but I need your help in this. I need to turn philanthropic donors into angel investment donors. And these angel investment funds that we now have creeping up for sure in the Oklahoma City area. But we have 77 counties in the state, and there's a lot of folks that could use help in this area. And it's something that I'm talking about. in every room that I go into is making sure that our young talent, or again, age, regardless of age, if they have an idea, they don't have to leave. Because that next step, once they graduate from that accelerator, if there's not that from about $1 million to $5 million range to invest, they'll leave even after they're in an accelerator to those other states. So there's about 2 or 3 different layers that we're working on inside the Department of Commerce, and I know you had Brent and Sean Copeland here, I think just last month. I'm having 2 or 3 phone calls every day with that crew because we've got to fix this. We've got to make sure that we get in front of that issue on the economic development side. The other area inside of commerce is making sure that we help close a skills gap that we have in the state as well. And that's somewhere where I'm certainly working with our great career tech infrastructure. I know we've got some individuals here with career tech, so I wanted to make sure I mentioned that as well. It's one of our greatest strengths as a state is our career tech infrastructure. And what we need in the economy today is people that have skills that meet the demands of the workforce. And today in this state, I talk to employers every day. They can't do 2 things. They can't pass a drug test or they're not trained to do the job. About 60% of the jobs that we could fill could be filled by going down to one of our great career tech facilities. And it's the best in the country, us in Georgia. So we are top 10. Breaking news for you here today. We are top 10 in a really important area, and that's career tech. So from an I2E, from an OCAST, from an accelerator perspective on the private sector with career tech, those are the conversations inside the Department of Commerce that I am heavily involved in every day. And that's going to help for sure retain the current jobs that we have in the state, and it's the only way we're going to be able to go around this state, around this country and around this world to recruit business to the state. The front door to all of that is what I'm here to talk to you for the next few minutes about, and that's tourism. The front door to economic development is tourism. For people to see this state, we got to get them off roads and bridges and spending money, critical sales tax dollars, in our communities across 77 counties. And the way to do that is tourism. And one of the big reasons, as I said at the beginning, with my intro, one of the big reasons that I ran for this position was tourism. I know it's shocking that I would do this, but I looked at what every other lieutenant governor did in the country. I know, shocking. That I would do that research. And there was a common theme when I looked at what other lieutenant governors did around the country, and it was a really big tourism portfolio. The lieutenant governor in Oklahoma already was chairman of the Tourism Commission, which those are our tourism commissioners from around the state that help put the plan together inside the Department of Tourism. And so I really planted my flag on that. We since have doubled down on that because the governor, the morning after we both got elected, said, hey, you're new, I'm new. If you're my lieutenant, let's go do this thing together. So the relationship between the governor and lieutenant governor, much different relationship. We work together on a daily basis. We're singing off the same song sheet in many areas. But he knew I was passionate about tourism. And he said, well, how about I make you Secretary of Tourism and Branding, which I'll speak to, so that you're sitting in my cabinet meetings every other week so we can talk about how we make tourism a top 10 industry, a top 10 state in tourism. I said, amen, sign me up for that. And so we've been off to the races the last 100 days. And I've been preaching this, that again, if we want to do economic development right, if we want to retain and recruit, then we've got to get people off roads and bridges in our communities to see how great these communities are. Because as Natalie said, something very magical happens when we get people off roads and bridges in Oklahoma City and the rest in the 76 other, they love the state. They fall in love with our people. They see that we have running water and tall buildings. And this is extremely important from changing the perception of the state. Because as you know and I know, if we don't define who we are as a state, I assure you that every other state in this country is. There's 49 other states that is defining who Oklahoma is. And it's not who we are. But if we don't get people here to show them what we're all about, then it's very hard for us to do the other part of economic development that we want to do. So a few areas that I want to speak directly to when it comes to our tourism department. I got into an agency as secretary where I got really in the weeds. And we need our secretaries and our cabinet members to be in the weeds. That was the directive of the governor. I want you to get in there. I want you to see where every dollar is being spent. Is it being spent wisely or is it not? And we have quarterly goals that we work on. towards making each of these areas top 10. So I got in there, realized we had over 700 employees in the tourism department, if you didn't know that. Over 700 employees, and they're spread out across the state. So the logistics of that. And then I started really kind of honing in kind of on the marketing budget side of this. Listen, I know that it's not all about money, but I can tell you when it comes to tourism and marketing the state, our brand right now, the only brand that we really have from a statewide perspective, from an agency perspective, are the ads that we're running out of the tourism department. Our spring campaign is what we call it. So that started a week before spring break. We spend most of that money in Texas because we make most of our money on baby boomers from Texas, which I don't have time to really get in the weeds on that, but that's a 2-hour PowerPoint presentation. But most of that money was being spent in Texas, and that spring campaign will again run through, starting before spring break, through mostly the rest of the year. That campaign, the entire campaign, is $2.3 million. Now the cake was baked on this before we got control of the tourism department. This is TV, this is digital ads, this is a little bit of direct mail, but it's mostly TV and digital ads. You know how much Michigan spends? You know that Pure Michigan campaign? You know, we're all nodding. We all know the Pure Michigan campaign. I don't know what's in Michigan, but there must be a lot in Michigan because Tim the Toolman Taylor tells me about it. He's the narrator of those ads. $28 million a year. Pure Michigan campaign. The Nation, to the south of us, I forget the name of the state, but it's down there. $41 million a year. $10 million internationally. So of that $41 million budget, $10 million is internationally. And they have very few miles of the most famous road in the world. We have more drivable miles of the most famous road in the world than any other state in the country. That would be Route 66. And if you know me, you know my love for the Mother Road. For a lot of reasons. It's authentic America, but we should also be making a whole lot of money on Route 66. And so we're putting a master plan inside the Department of Tourism specific to Route 66. First Tuesday in December, put it on your calendars, will be the inaugural, we've never done this before, bringing all communities, every community, 400 plus miles across the state together at the History Center to put a master plan together for Route 66. It's a gold mine. It's an absolute gold mine for our state. And we should be doing so much more from a marketing perspective. But $2.3 million is not going to get it done. And so I have no problem whatsoever advocating for more dollars from our legislators. Because for every dollar I spend on tourism advertising, I get at least $8 back. And I've looked, you're not finding that ROI in a whole lot of places in state government. But you will inside the Department of Tourism and Recreation. Mike Carrier gets this. Oklahoma City gets it. Oklahoma City is killing it. I mean, a round of applause for your convention bureau. And we generate $650 million in state and local tax revenue off tourism. It's the third largest industry in the state. A lot of that is organically driven. A lot of it's driven by Oklahoma City. And a lot of it, and that means it's driven by his team. They are absolutely killing it. And the numbers, I'm going to read you because I love your all's newsletter. For the first time in history, last fiscal year, Oklahoma City exceeded $15 million in total hotel room tax. That's an increase over the previous fiscal year of 7.5%. Hotel revenue increased 8.6%. The number of hotel rooms in Oklahoma City increased by more than 4%. Over 263 different groups alone that they were specifically involved in, which is just, they've really nailed the convention piece of this, how important it is of pulling those convention business in, which again helped provide $13.3 million in sales tax revenue to the city coffers. That's real money. and that's Mike, that's his team. Tulsa's doing a great job too, Ray Hoyt over in the Tulsa area. So a lot of this is driven by our two largest cities. But I need you advocating, I need you in front of your legislators talking about how important this industry is, how important it is to growing this industry, making it sure it's going the right way. And I need your help. And it's an easier sell than it used to be down at the state capitol. I can tell you that. I'm optimistic moving forward that we're going to be able to get a larger marketing budget, some of those appropriated dollars. I'm fighting for it every day. But I usually, when I talk about tourism, I got to start with that marketing budget because you get what you pay for. And I'm getting all that money back when we tell our story, if we're telling it the right way. and with cities that are having to do it on their own. I mean, Oklahoma City is doing this pretty much on their own. Tulsa, pretty much on their own. And all of these, the Stillwaters and the Enids and the Guymans, they're doing it on their own. And I preach to them and to those groups that I'm their people. I want to be an advocate for them across the state, and that's really where I've spent most of my time, is making sure that I'm in those different countries that we identify around the state. What help do you need right now in putting a better marketing plan together inside the Department of Tourism to take advantage of all the assets that we have? Because I mentioned career tech being one of our greatest strengths. We have to play to our strengths as a state. And tourism is one of our greatest strengths. Because no state can match our heritage and our history. I mean, you think about it. There is not another state that can match our heritage and our history as a state. And it's why, again, organic, from our Native American history, from Route 66, from small towns, urban America, we have it all as a state when it comes to tourism assets. But we've got to take much more advantage of them. So I mentioned Route 66. The other real big area that again, is a gold mine and happens to be one of the fastest cottage industries inside the tourism department as a whole is agritourism. So today in this country, people want to know where their food's coming from, much more than pretty much any time in U.S. history. The farm-to-table movement, good luck finding a table at any of those restaurants. For those of you that have tried. And here's the game changer. Oklahoma City is a perfect example of this. You can get every opportunity, every urban opportunity that you would ever want right here in Oklahoma City, and then right outside of town you got Luther, one of our best agritourism communities in the entire state. All the small town charm that anyone would ever want is in Luther, Oklahoma. And they have amazing restaurants, they got the farm-to-table movement, they've got farms that you can go to, the blueberry, the blackberry, all of that is just, 15, 20 minutes outside of town. We have got to connect those dots for visitors. The convention goers love this, to be able to be shown those opportunities that are just a few minutes outside of town. Fastest growing cottage industry inside the tourism department across the country. Because people want to turn this off for 3 days. They want to turn this off for 3 days. They want to find a cute boutique hotel somewhere in a small Main Street USA town, right? That has great little boutique hotel, all the small town charm they could ever want. To return to that authentic American experience. I return to that language quite a bit. Authentic American. You're going to hear that a whole lot inside the Department of Tourism because that sells right now. That is what this country wants, and it's what international tourists want as well. The LA and the New York's great. You're not getting that authentic American feel. You get that in the heartland. You get that here. And then when they're here, they see how diverse we are as well, right? So agritourism is something we've got to take advantage of. The story that I like to tell, so Blaine Arthur, our new Secretary of Ag, who's a rock star, first female Ag Secretary in state history, I asked my staff, Jeff Peters, Jeff Wave, my chief of staff right here, I said, hey, give me the phone number for the agritourism department over in Ag, because agritourism department's underneath the Department of Ag. I said, just give me the number, I'm just going to call them. So I called him up. I said, hey, this is Lieutenant Governor Matt Pinnell. I love agritourism. It's a no-brainer. I want to partner the Department of Tourism with the Department of Ag. They thought it was a prank call. We have not really had that kind of communication between, and since then we've had 5 meetings. We have a new budget that we're putting forth. There was only one person, one very dear person, and she's really good at what she does, but one person with a very small budget to talk about agritourism in Oklahoma. Think about that. So that I'm giving you an inside look of how much we commit to tourism in the state. That's got to change. So we've since had, again, 5 or 6 meetings. We're putting a real plan together. So if they go to Oklahoma City or they go to Tulsa or any of our other urban areas around the state, we're able to tell them the agritourism opportunities that they have sometimes 5 minutes outside of town. Most states, again, playing to our strengths, most states can't do that. Not even in Texas. Too long of a drive most of the time. In Oklahoma, we can do that. And that's why we have people from Dallas and Houston that now spend weekend getaways in Oklahoma City. Because it's just as good of restaurants, it's just as good of outdoor activities, and they don't have to wait 2 hours for a restaurant, and it's not a 2-hour commute to and from inside or outside downtown. Well, we're making a lot of money on that, and it's only going to get better when we develop, again, with the convention center, Scissortail. It's amazing what's going on here. I mean, the energy here is, it is really exciting to see, and that's coming from a Tulsa boy. So Mike, you can quote me on that. So agritourism, Route 66, a couple other areas that I know may be some interest to you. State parks. We got a big lift when it comes to our state parks. Real big lift. Over 32 state parks in the state. But here's what I want you to know my heart with state parks. I'm well aware that a successful state park does not mean they're making money for the state. There's not a state in the country outside of Wisconsin where state parks are a money-making operation. State parks are a legacy for any state. And employees are demanding from their employers that quality of life projects, trail systems, museums, and state parks. And states that get this, like Arkansas, the last lieutenant governor beat up on Texas quite a bit, and I always, again, I love beating up on Texas too, believe me. But my new state that the new lieutenant governor beats on quite a bit is Arkansas. Now, if you're from Arkansas, I apologize. But I got to tell you, Texas and the 28 million people down there is one thing, but we're getting beat by Arkansas folks. And it's unacceptable to be getting beaten by Arkansas and the state park system that they have in Arkansas. But I'll give Arkansas some kudos here. Arkansas, about 12, 13 years ago, said, hey, we don't have the rock that Oklahoma has to frack. We would love it. We'd love to have the oil and gas industry that they have in Oklahoma, but we don't have it. So we got to figure something else out here in Arkansas. And they went all in on state parks. And it's one of the best park systems in the entire, arguably the best park system in the entire country. Then you add on top of that the Walton Family Foundation, the Walmart people, okay, tracking with me, who said, hey, if we're going to demand that businesses live within 30 miles of Walmart, which they do, again, the vendors, they demand that they live near Bentonville, then we better provide the quality of life projects that those employees are demanding. Museums, it's where you got Crystal Bridges. I heard it's nice. I'm not going and dropping sales tax dollars there because we got plenty of museums right here in Oklahoma, but I heard it's kind of nice. And then they've got the best, not arguably, it is the best trail system in the entire country in Bentonville, Arkansas. Because the Waltons understood that those things matter. Those attractions matter to employees. And you're not going to be able to retain or recruit, going to what Natalie said, you're not going to be able to retain or recruit if you don't have those things. Again, we got them. We got to market them. City's got to do it and the state's got to do it. But from a state park perspective, we are putting a master plan together. It was not something that I wanted to touch this legislative session. Too big of a lift. There's a tourism committee, both on the House and the Senate side, bipartisan group that I've been kind of laying the groundwork for this. If you get my weekly newsletter that I send out, I've been kind of laying the groundwork for how important state parks are. And the public-private partnerships that we need to be having that like other states do. There's a couple model states that we're really looking at when it comes to state parks. But I do want you to know, state parks are a priority for me. And I do not want someone showing up from Texas or Kansas or Missouri, going to one of our state parks, putting money in a box that's nailed to a tree. No joke, that's how we do it at some of our state parks. Can't take credit cards, can't get Wi-Fi, and don't even get me started on the bathrooms. Because, again, that goes to the perception, right, that they're going to leave the state. They pull in an RV there, they're going back to Texas, and they're not coming back to that state park. So within 100 days, we've already fixed the credit card issue. I know it's crazy to think that we weren't able to take credit cards at some of our state parks, but we weren't. And so now we're test driving credit card machines and mobile credit card machines at all of our state parks right now, and hopefully get these in place for summer traffic. We've got great bones at these state parks, very unique. We got 12 ecosystems in this state. So you can get any kind of state park experience that you want, but it's got to be better. That attention to detail has got to be a lot better. And it's going to be, because some of that stuff is not money. Some of that stuff is not money. We have the money in some of those areas when it comes to state parks, but a long-term funding mechanism is something that we are going to look at inside the legislative process when it comes to our state parks, because it's extremely important in retaining and recruiting people to the state to have those opportunities. Because George Kaiser is not going to drop down another $400 million to build another park. God bless him for doing it in Tulsa, because it's now, again, probably the best public park in the entire country. Better than what they have in Chicago, better than that little thing they have up in New York. But he doesn't have another $400 million to drop on park. Scissor tail, it's going to be amazing. But I control the state park piece. And we got to make sure that that is just as good as what cities are doing as well. And it's something that I want you to know that we're tackling inside the state. The last thing that I'll mention before I finish with the branding piece, the other thing that was really frustrating to me as I kind of got into the tourism department, we have wonderful employees in there that need to be empowered. But this is a great example of it. So if you didn't know, we have a music trail in Oklahoma. How many people know that we have a music trail? There's a couple hands. And again, we have some of the musicians in this state, historically, really unmatched. We exported them all to Nashville. Don't even get me started on that. But Oklahoma should have a premier music trail. So about 6 years ago, we had individuals, fantastic individuals, stand in front of a podium and said, we've launched our music trail. It's called the Rhythms and Rhymes Music Trail. Does anyone know where a single marker is around the state showing where this music trail is? Or a highway sign? Or a digital Facebook ad? Or going into your airports in Oklahoma City or Tulsa and seeing a banner with Garth Brooks and Carrie Underwood and the Hands, and everybody, I could put 20 different faces on there that everybody in the country first name basis with. I've never seen it. Never seen that. And I have the music trail brochure on my desk for this very reason, to remind me, if we're going to create products, because I can create products all day long, I got a lot of great ideas. But if I don't have the money to market that product, if I don't have an individual inside the tourism department that's accountable to that project, then I'm not launching any more programs. And I want you to hear that from me, because we're going to relaunch the music trail when I'm ready to relaunch the music trail. That means ODOT is on board with markers. That means I have somebody inside the tourism department that's accountable to that project, so that weekly, I'm getting reports about people pulling over on the side of the road and getting a selfie in front of a marker, and then they see the coffee shop that's 10 minutes down the road, right? And go drop sales tax dollars. That's how I think. I'm not doing this just out of my own, just because it's cool or fun. Yes, it is. It's one of the best jobs that you can have. But we want to make money on these things, because it also helps to, again, change that perception of the state. So there's a number of other things that we're talking about inside the Department of Tourism that I cannot tell you about today, because there's too many people in here that would tweet it out. But there's a number of other really fun projects. They're fun projects, but they're money-making projects, because they're unique things that make Oklahoma unique, that are unique about Oklahoma, that we're about to launch. And we're going to launch it the right way. One of these projects will be launched in June. So you'll then be, oh, that's what Lieutenant Governor was talking about. Yes, that is. And we're going to make a whole lot of money on it. But when we are ready to relaunch the music trail, we will do it. But I want you to know that there will be employees that are accountable to projects. We'll have a budget behind it to market it, so that we're doing tourism right and we're doing marketing right inside the Department of Tourism. The final thing I'll mention, I'll open up for some questions. It is not just Secretary of Tourism, which it used to be Commerce and Tourism. Commerce is a big enough lift as it is. So we decoupled this. It's now a standalone Secretary of Tourism. But that was not enough for me. I need another job. But we both, being the governor and I, both realized how poorly we've done branding in the state. And again, I know I'm preaching to the choir a little bit to the group that's here today. But I don't know when we last did branding well. It better not be Oklahoma is okay. Because if I come back to you and pull a sheet off of a billboard here that shows you my new logo, our new logo, and it says Oklahoma, I want you to kick me out of office. It better not be Oklahoma is okay. It better not be the Twitter bird on our license plate. And I know it's not a Twitter bird, but it looks like we got a Twitter bird on the license plate. And is that a big deal? I think it is a big deal. That's millions of cars, right? And this is the crossroads of America, so people see our license plate more than other license plates. We have to remember these things. We're not Maine. This is the crossroads of America. You have 40% of the cars and trucks on the roads out here every day aren't even from here. They're just crossing through here. And what are we showing them? They cross over They see some very dilapidated Welcome to Oklahoma signs and a different slogan at different locations crossing over that invisible line. You got the Discover the Excellence sign that I see up in northeast Oklahoma sometime, halfway faded, kind of falling down. And I crossed over that invisible line, and I see this real nice, shiny Welcome to Arkansas sign. Again, Arkansas. Here we go again with Arkansas. And there are 3 minivans pulled over on the side of the road. You can see the crazy, you can see the Welcome to Oklahoma sign on the other side of the turnpike. There was no minivans pulled over on the side of the road taking a selfie in front of the Welcome to Oklahoma sign, but they were over there in Arkansas. Is that a big thing or a small thing? I think it's a big thing. And that's what I have control and authority over to change. So, I mean, I'm not up here to talk to you about all the other things that we're going to try to change inside the state capitol. I'm all for those things too. But I see politicians stand in front of podiums all the time. I've been involved for a very long time that stand up here and they'll tell you all the great things that we're going to change, and they have no constitutional authority over them whatsoever to change. Everything that I'm talking to you today, I have authority to help change. Certainly need help with you making sure that you're advocating for us in front of those legislators. But one of them is branding. And so that's why we made sure there was Secretary of Tourism and branding. Yesterday, it's very timely that I'm up here today. My update for you there, yesterday was our very first meeting that we had with just a very small group of people to kind of put a timeline together for this branding campaign. So we are launching a branding. It's not a rebrand, because again, I don't know what the current brand is. So we're not calling it a rebrand, it's a branding campaign. And this is going to be put together by Oklahomans. There's a few of you in this room that I've already talked to about this. And if you want to be involved, we still need some more people to be involved in this. But this is really going to be a gift from those in the advertising world to dedicate some time to put this together for us. That's really what we're envisioning here, is this is going to be something that is going to be put together by Oklahomans. And we're going to have someone facilitate this effort, of course. But we have got to get this right. Yes, it's a logo, but it's more than that. It's the storytelling. And it birthed out of that, yes, will be new license plate. Yes, will be new Welcome to Oklahoma signage. All open sourced. Every agency right now in the state has their own logo, and some of them have their own slogans. It's a real hot mess. And when you do that, you have a department that kind of has their own logo or has their own agency, then you're not one Oklahoma. And we're really trying to create a uniform brand, guidelines inside of state government, but also something that is totally open sourced so that individuals, small businesses can pull down that graphic and use. This is very unique. Very few states have done this. The one state that did it, that we are looking at, that has done a really good job of it, is Colorado. Marijuana leaf is not on their new logo. That's my joke. They've done a really good job with their branding the last few years, and it is a model for us. Tennessee is another one. Tennessee does a really good job inside their tourism department. And tourism and commerce really go together on this. Tourism and commerce is really where we'll be using a lot of this. But yesterday was our first meeting. Throughout the rest of the year, not going to rush this, throughout the rest of the year, we're going to be developing this brand, bringing back updates to the governor and the cabinet to see if we're moving in the right direction. But those of you all that would like to be involved in that, this will be public and private sector. We want to bring as many people together as possible. So this is really grassroots led. Cities do this, very few states do this, and they can pull it off. We think we have the right team to be able to pull it off. You've got a statewide elected official and a secretary of branding that's going to be bird dogging this every day. So we know that we can pull it off because we have some great people facilitating this effort as well. So that's where I'm going to be parked for 4 years. Could I get a phone call from the governor tomorrow who needs help with criminal justice reform? Sure, I could, and I'll be there for him. But he has tasked me, and he's tasked others of us on the cabinet with specific areas. And it's one of the things that I love about the guy the most, is he ran a business in 40 plus states, thousands of employees. He learned how to delegate. And when he delegates, he really delegates. I mean, you're all about tourism, you're all about entrepreneurship and small business growth, go do it. And bring back to me what we need to change. There's not a leash there. Very little to no micromanaging there. So we're really out there to perform. And it's metrics based as well. I've really been loving that part of it over the first 100 days. But I'm well aware that it's only 100 days too. And I need you in this room to come alongside and help us so that we are positioning this state in a much better direction over the next 4 years. I look forward to working with you, those in the room. I talked to a few people that run hotels and they're in the convention business. Again, I really look forward to positioning this state. I want to be top 10 everywhere, but I know for a fact that we can be a top 10 tourism state. So thank you all so much for your time. I think we got about, what, 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah,
Or
I think
until you give me the hook.
Isn't he amazing? I mean, we are going in the right direction now. All right, we're going to spend a little bit of time answering questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand, and folks with microphones will bring them to you. So let's see what you got. Oh, come on.
Oh, didn't answer everything.
What are you thinking? All right, well, Governor Pinnell.
Yes.
You said that the branding, previously at the Oklahoma City Zoo, you had a presentation to the tourism department. You said the branding was going to be done outside of the state of Oklahoma. Is that still your vision?
Well, the brand will be, that's what we'll be showing the rest. No, the brand will be put together by Oklahomans, yes. The branding campaign, so to speak, we're kind of dubbing it kind of the Okla X. 100 of the best minds from around the state coming together. We'll break off into, we're really building an advertising firm, to tell you the truth, is really kind of what we're looking at. Different people with different expertise, whether it be PR, whether it be logo design, whether it be storytelling. No, this will be, Oklahomans will be putting this together. The brand will certainly be, and it's inside state government as well. This is an Oklahoma brand, not a tourism brand. It's not a commerce brand, it's an Oklahoma brand. Commerce will use it, of course. Tourism will use it, yes. But no, it's branding criteria for state government that the public sector, we certainly want to be able to use as well, like they do in Colorado. Yeah.
Anybody else? Yes, go ahead.
Really appreciate your comments. I'm curious if you feel like there's much of a role for public art among all the communities along Route 66.
Yes. From a public art perspective, Amber Sharples and I are spending a lot of time together at the Arts Council. I'm a performance art guy too. I was a drama major until sophomore in college. Little known fact. Was not talented enough to go to LA, and so I switched my major. But I into politics. I guess that's a bad line, I guess. But I'm a huge performance art guy too. And I'm well aware that there hasn't been a whole lot of elected officials, statewide elected officials really champion the arts. Again, I champion the arts because I care about it, but I also am well aware that, again, from a recruitment and retention perspective, again, employees are demanding these things. So Amber and I are having a lot of conversations about entertainment districts, arts districts. We're trying to put legislation together actually next session on this. So from a trail perspective into the arts world, the short answer is yes. I try to support as many of the art exhibits and events along Route 66 and off Route 66, of course, that I can. There's a big place for it. I'm very involved with Allied Arts as an ex officio member there, the Lieutenant Governor is. And so I plan on getting much more involved in the years ahead. I'd mentioned film there too. I didn't mention this in my comments, but specific legislation this session that I advocated for, again, diversifying our economy. We've got something really cooking here with film in Oklahoma already. Again, 12 ecosystems. We can turn really any road into a dirt road pretty much overnight. They really can't do that in LA anymore, or Atlanta, which is the new LA. If you didn't know, everything's being filmed in Atlanta now. So I said, hey, we reached out to the industry. There was already a little bit of momentum behind this already. We kind of certainly helped with it. So we're doubling the rebate for films that can be filmed here from 4 to 8 million. And we included language in there that if HBO or Hulu or Amazon came to us and said, hey, we got a 4-year series and we want to do it here. So it's not a one-time $50 million budget. We're really in the $10 to $50 million range. The Hallmark movies, we would love to get the $100 million, but we need soundstage infrastructure for that, which we're working on. But the 4 to 8 million, we're going to double that. We included high impact language in the bill. So if they came to us, I could go to the governor and say, hey, listen, HBO wants to come, but we need to use some quick action closing fund money to close this deal. The governor now has the ability to use quick action closing fund money for the film industry. So we're excited about it because we already have some good momentum in Oklahoma City and the Guthrie. Tulsa's a pretty hot market. We're really wanting to make sure that Killers of the Flower Moon, if you haven't read the book, you need to read the book. Up there in the Pawhuska, Bartlesville area, that Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio are going to start filming within the next 12 months. We're really, 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 really trying to make sure that they film that here. But from an incentive perspective, they're going to get a bigger incentive in Atlanta for that. And so I'm working with the tribes quite a bit in this area. The tribes are really in on the film side, Cherokees and Chickasaws for sure, and they have the money to invest in soundstage infrastructure that we need. And so I think there's going to be a really cool partnership between our state government and tribal state governments when it comes to film in the decades ahead. Yeah.
Anyone else? Other questions?
Hi. I really applaud your idea about the agritourism. I think that's just a fantastic idea, and we've overlooked that for a long time. Other than, say, California, are there some other states where you've seen that done, that they've done some exceptional work in that area? I mean,
I don't
maybe
wanna
Arkansas?
I don't want to mention the state again, Arkansas. So you go to Arkansas, there are markers off their roads for their wine trail. Arkansas has a wine trail. Sorry, I did that for dramatic purposes, but it needs to be that dramatic. Arkansas's got a wine trail. If Arkansas's got a wine trail, we have a wine trail in Oklahoma. Did you know that? We have a brochure inside of the agritourism that talks about a wine trail in Oklahoma. No one knows about it. And I bet you anything, our wine trail is it's better than Arkansas's because a lot of those wineries are off Route 66. So Arkansas does a very good job on agritourism. I'll tell you, Texas does a pretty good job too. Some of that is directly tied to the budget that they have. But some of these states that have more of those agritourism opportunities, Arkansas, the Texases, a lot of these states around us. Thank goodness for Kansas, because Kansas is the only state that spends less than us when it comes from marketing dollars. So in my world, it's not thank you for Mississippi. That's always our joke, right? Thankfully we have Mississippi, the criminal justice reform. We're not 50th, we're 49th. In my world, it's Kansas. They're the only state that spends less. So from a regional footprint, Kansas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas make a lot of money on Texans. We've got to tap into that regional footprint more than we are. We're putting, from an international perspective, we're putting a specific international campaign together on Route 66 in Australia, because the research shows us that Australians are fanatics about Route 66. They go to Chicago, and they'll go to Santa Monica, but getting them to Oklahoma is an easy sell if we put a marketing campaign together for it. But I don't have a $10 million international. If I did, we'd make even more money on it. Yeah. Yes?
You mentioned something about having Oklahoma's built this brand. How do you recommend people get involved?
So we're creating a microsite right now where will be a central clearinghouse. We're going to be sending out a public notice on this. Hey, sign up. Right now, you can give your card to Jeff Peters and get in front of the line. I've been talking about it for a couple months, and so we've got a number of business cards from people that want to be involved. We're going to open this up, of course, but I do want to reinforce the Okla X, so this 100, you're doing real advertising work. So I mean, if you work in an advertising or public relations firm, or if you may have an expertise in it, I need citizens that just want to be involved too, of course. But I do reinforce that group that we're going to bring together is actually doing the work. We're going to have people facilitate the gathering of these people. But we want to put this together by Oklahomans so that everybody that's involved can put that scope of work on their own websites. Yeah, but talk to Jeff. Yeah.
You talked about budget. Is there going to be an increase in next year for marketing?
We hope.
Do you have a goal for where you'd like to see that get to?
Yeah, I'd like to at least get to $5 million pretty quick. Now, here's the reality on that too. There's some flexible dollars inside the tourism department that I can move. Again, this project that I am launching in June, we have a budget for $300,000 or $400,000 with digital ads for sure. There's money that's flexible inside the tourism department that I can move into marketing legally. And we're going to do as much of that as we can. But there does need to be a bigger investment appropriate from a state level when it comes to our marketing budget. So we've already talked to the legislature about it. Next year. We feel much better about that. Yeah.
Brenda?
Well, Cynthia asked one of my questions. My second part question was, on these other states, their tourism budgets, is that all public funding, or is that
some of it is?
public and
Arkansas.
private? And what could we do on the private side to help grow our tourism budget?
Yeah, you can create public-private partnerships. There can be a lot of states. Oregon does this a lot with private dollars and with public money with their state parks. Arkansas, 1/8% of 1% of sales tax goes directly to their state parks. So they have the best state parks in the country. Again, this is not rocket science here. They have a dedicated funding stream for their state parks. Texas, every sale at a Cabela's or a Bass Pro Shop in Texas, a small percentage of sales tax goes directly to their state parks. Pretty genius, actually. We're actually looking at that a little bit. So we're looking at what states, a lot of it's lottery money. A lot of states have lotteries, and when they set up their lotteries, in that legislation, a piece of money, a piece of that pie went to overall marketing budget inside their tourism departments and state parks. What we found out, when you have statewide elected officials that advocate for these things, you can actually turn the thing around pretty quick. I mean, I've been shocked. I mean, I stand in front of these podiums. We just haven't had a whole lot of people doing this in a long time, talking about how important this is. Legislators have not gotten this pitch for a very long time either. So I'm not saying we're going to get it done overnight, but when we have less than 4 million people in the state, it's a whole lot easier to turn that around than 28 million people down there in that nation down there. So we can turn it around pretty quick, but the public-private partnership, we do have to have that conversation, yes, to be able to get there quicker.
All right, anybody else? All right.
Thank you all. Appreciate
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Thank you, Governor Pinnell, for being here and for giving us more details about our state's approach to branding and tourism development. Our community is excited to support these efforts moving forward. I'd like to again thank our signature sponsor, Cox Business, and our corporate sponsor, ADG, for their participation in today's event. We hope that you'll join us next month for our June Forum, where you're going to hear more about the organizations who are improving the quality of life for Oklahoma's children, and learn what more our community can do to help improve outcomes for Oklahoma City's youngest residents. You can learn more about that at www.okcchamber.com/June Forum. Thank you for being here, and we're adjourned.